Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever caught yourself hesitating, pulling back from an opportunity, a confrontation, a dream, because something inside whispered, "What if I'm not enough?" That whisper, that hesitation, that's the voice we need to kill. That's your weak feeling. And if you don't kill it, it will kill every dream you've ever had. Let me be clear, I'm not saying we should become heartless. But I am saying that weak feelings are parasites. They feed on your self-doubt, they grow with your fear, and they will convince you to surrender before the battle even begins. So how do we kill them? Every day we wake up, we step into a conversation. But it's not always with the world. Often it's with ourselves. That quiet, relentless voice in the back of our minds, always narrating, always commenting, always questioning. What if I'm not good enough? What if I mess this up? What if they see through me? This voice doesn't shout, it whispers. It whispers in boardrooms before presentations. It whispers when you're looking at a blank page wondering how to begin. It whispers when you're standing at the edge of something new, something unknown. And the most tragic part, we believe it. Not because it's true, but because it sounds so much like reason. This voice doesn't come out of nowhere. We're biologically wired to be cautious, to protect ourselves, to prepare for danger. Our brains are still working off instincts developed thousands of years ago, where survival was the goal, not success. That means the same brain that kept our ancestors safe from predators is now trying to keep us safe from discomfort, failure, embarrassment. And so it invents these thoughts that sound like wisdom but are actually fear in disguise. Science tells us that the average person has around 60,000 thoughts a day, and over 80% of them are negative. That's nearly 48,000 chances every single day to doubt ourselves, to second guess, to shrink back. But here's what most people never realize. Thoughts are not truths. Feelings are not commands. Just because a voice rises inside you doesn't mean it's worth following. Imagine standing in front of a mirror and someone is behind you constantly criticizing. You're not enough. You'll fail. Don't try. If it were another person, we'd call it emotional abuse. But because it's our own inner voice, we let it go unchecked. We give it authority. We let it steer. But we don't have to. We can choose to acknowledge it without obeying it. Think about the greatest innovators, the most courageous leaders, the artists, the trailblazers. Do you really think they were fearless? Of course not. They heard the same voice. The only difference, they didn't believe it. They didn't hand over the wheel. They learned to say, I hear you, but you don't get to decide. I once met a young woman who wanted to launch her own business. Brilliant, passionate, driven, but paralyzed. She said, I don't think I'm ready. I've never done this before. I asked her a simple question. Do you think anyone who did something extraordinary had done it before? The look in her eyes changed. It clicked. Readiness is a myth. It's a lie our inner fear tells us to keep us from leaping. You're not supposed to feel ready. You're supposed to feel scared. That's how you know you're doing something worth it. Courage doesn't roar. Most of the time, it sounds like a quiet sentence. I'll try anyway. And that one sentence is all it takes to shift everything, because that's the moment you stop being led by fear and start being led by something bigger. Purpose, growth, vision. That's the moment you stop being manipulated by weakness and start being moved by strength. There's a young man I know who applied for over 200 jobs and heard no over and over again. He told me each rejection confirmed what I already thought. I wasn't good enough. But then he did something remarkable. He paused. He asked himself, what if those rejections say more about the fit than about my worth? That one reframe gave him the courage to keep going. He finally landed a position that changed his entire life. Not because the job made him worthy, but because he stopped letting doubt be his compass. You see, the voice in our head often speaks in absolutes. You'll never succeed. You always mess things up. That's not reason. That's emotional sabotage dressed up in logic. And if we don't challenge it, we end up living lives based on lies we've told ourselves. We stay small, we settle, not because we're incapable, but because we were convinced. The antidote isn't silence. You can't always silence the voice, but you can speak louder. You can choose a different story. Yes, I'm scared. but that doesn't mean I'm not capable. Yes, I failed, but that doesn't mean I'm a failure. Yes, I feel doubt, but that doesn't mean I won't succeed. This isn't blind optimism, it's mental leadership. It's deciding that you will be the one to author your narrative, not the voice that was trained to keep you safe but not satisfied. Every meaningful achievement, every great act of change, every bold decision, it starts with someone choosing not to believe their fear. It starts with someone saying, this voice doesn't get to lead me. It's not about being fearless. It's about recognizing fear for what it is. A signal, not a stop sign. There's a beautiful truth here. You are not your thoughts. You are not your feelings. You are the observer. You are the chooser. That means you can feel weak without being weak. You can feel doubt without giving into it. You can acknowledge the voice without handing it the mic. The next time you hear that voice, the one that says you can't, you're not ready, you'll fail, take a breath, step back and say, I hear you, but I choose differently, because power isn't the absence of weakness. It's the decision to not let weakness rule. We don't need to kill the voice. We just need to stop letting it lead. The voice may always be there, but so is your courage. So is your clarity. So is your conviction. And those are far better guides. Choose them every time. Fear is an expert illusionist. It thrives in the quiet moments, in the hesitation before the leap, in the space between intention and action. The longer we pause, the more elaborate the illusion becomes. What once was a manageable task now looms like a mountain. What was a simple conversation suddenly feels like a confrontation. We give power to the things we avoid, not because they grow, but because we stop moving. Fear is like a shadow. It doesn't exist in light or motion. It grows in stillness. And the only way to shrink it is to move toward it. I once worked with someone whose fear wasn't subtle. It shook them to their bones. Their hands trembled, their voice cracked, and every fiber of their being screamed for an escape when they were asked to speak in public. This wasn't a fear they could hide behind a smile or mask with charm. It was raw and visible, the kind of fear that would make most people retreat, make excuses, and rearrange their lives to avoid it. But this person made a different choice. They leaned into it. They didn't start by standing on a TEDx stage or delivering a keynote to thousands. They started in small rooms, in uncomfortable silence, with sweaty palms and a shaky voice. They joined Toastmasters, where failure wasn't punished but welcomed. They practiced in front of mirrors, in front of friends, in front of anyone who would listen. They stumbled, they forgot their words, they froze, but they kept showing up. And again, and again, and again. That's the magic of action. It doesn't guarantee immediate success. It doesn't promise applause or recognition, but it guarantees momentum. And momentum is what kills weakness. Not because it eliminates fear, but because it quiets the voice inside that says you can't. With every repetition, that voice gets softer. With every attempt, it loses credibility, until one day it's just background noise, present but powerless. The transformation I witnessed in that person wasn't just about public speaking. It was a transformation of identity. They no longer saw themselves as someone who was afraid. They saw themselves as someone who acted in spite of fear. And that identity is everything. Because when we believe we're weak, we wait for strength to show up before we act. But when we know we're capable of acting while afraid, we stop waiting. We begin. So many of us spend our lives stuck in the preparation phase, waiting for confidence, clarity, or the perfect timing. But confidence doesn't come before the action. It's a reward for the action. It's a byproduct of effort, not a prerequisite. You don't need to be ready. You need to be willing to be seen, to be wrong, to be uncomfortable. That's where courage lives. Weakness doesn't disappear because we think positive thoughts or recite affirmations in the mirror. It disappears because we do the thing it tells us not to. If your fear says don't speak, then speak. If it says don't try, then try. If it says you'll fail, then fail. And learn. That's how the power shifts. That's how you reclaim authority over your life, not by waiting for the feeling to pass, but by doing it anyway. It's easy to look at someone successful and assume they were always that way. We see the polished delivery, the effortless confidence, the poise, and we forget that they once stood where we stand, afraid, insecure, unsure. But they moved, they took a single step, and then another, And each step made the next one a little easier. Each action chipped away at the fear until what was once paralyzing became routine. Action is the antidote to almost every form of emotional paralysis. Depression, anxiety, self-doubt, none of them thrive in movement. Because when we act, we shift from being victims of our emotions to being architects of our future. It doesn't mean we don't feel fear. It means fear doesn't get to drive. It means we're no longer waiting for the universe to give us permission to be bold. Think about your own life. What's the thing you've been avoiding? That conversation you've been putting off? That project you keep delaying? That dream that feels too big, too far, too risky? What would change if you acted today, not perfectly, not confidently, but courageously? What might open up if you stopped letting the voice of weakness write your story? The greatest moments of growth often begin in discomfort, because discomfort signals the edge of our current capacity. It's the stretching of muscle, the expansion of spirit, and it hurts. Yes, but it also strengthens, because each time you choose action over avoidance, you reinforce a new belief. I can handle this. And that belief rewires everything. I've seen people transform not because they read a book or attended a seminar, but because they did the hard thing once. And then again, and then again. Consistent action doesn't just change your circumstances, it changes you. It changes the way you see yourself, the way you carry yourself, the way others experience you. You stop walking with hesitation and start walking with conviction. Weakness wants you to wait, to second guess, to rehearse the worst case scenario, but strength is forged in the doing. It doesn't shout, it whispers. One more rep, one more call, one more try. It's not always glamorous, it's not always celebrated, but it's always worth it. The invitation is simple. Starve your weakness by feeding your courage. Don't give energy to the voice that says you're not enough. Give energy to the action that proves you are. Don't wait to be fearless, be brave with your fear. Don't wait to feel strong, act, and strength will find you in the process. If there's one thing I hope you carry forward, it's this. You are not defined by the presence of fear. You are defined by what you choose to do with it. Every step forward in fear is a step toward becoming the person you are meant to be. Every action is a vote for your future. So vote boldly, vote often, and when in doubt, move. Because action starves weakness, and movement is where courage comes alive. When life hits us with pain, uncertainty, or overwhelming emotions, our first instinct is to escape. We live in a world that's perfectly designed for avoidance. With a swipe, a click, or the twist of a bottle cap, we can disappear from the discomfort we don't want to feel. The truth is, numbing has become the default. It's what people do when they're hurting but don't know what else to do. And the world rewards it. You're praised for being resilient when you show up with a smile after heartbreak. You're applauded for staying busy when grief is eating you alive inside. You're admired for pushing through when anxiety has you by the throat. But let's be honest, most of what we call strength is just avoidance in disguise. You see, pain doesn't go away because we ignore it. It doesn't fade because we drown it in dopamine hits from social media, food, or meaningless entertainment. Pain is patient. It waits. It buries itself deep inside us, showing up in different disguises. Rage, numbness, self-sabotage, burnout, even chronic illness. It gets louder the longer we pretend it's not there, and the more we run from it, the more control it gains over us. We think we're escaping, but really we're surrendering, not to healing, but to suppression. Numbing doesn't heal anything, it just builds walls. It convinces us that if we can just stay distracted long enough, the storm inside will pass. But feelings that are buried alive don't die. They grow roots. They affect the way we show up in relationships. They affect how we see ourselves. They affect the decisions we make. And over time, they harden us, not in the way that makes us stronger, but in the way that keeps us disconnected from who we truly are. True strength isn't the absence of feeling. It's the willingness to feel fully and still choose growth. That's what transformation requires. It asks us to sit with the ache instead of silencing it, to look pain in the face and ask, what are you here to teach me? It's not easy. It never is. But healing begins the moment we stop running, when we stop numbing and start listening, when we stop distracting and start processing, when we stop avoiding and start transforming. Transformation is messy. It's not a clean, linear path. It's journaling at 2 a.m. when your thoughts are loud and your heart is heavy. It's breaking down mid-sentence while talking to someone you trust because the weight of pretending finally became too much. It's sitting in silence, breathing through the chaos within and realizing that even your worst moments carry wisdom. Is allowing yourself to feel the depth of rejection and using it as a mirror, not to see your inadequacies, but to sharpen your worth. Pain always carries a message. Every broken heart holds within it the blueprint for stronger boundaries. Every rejection, if examined, becomes a roadmap toward mastery. Every loss, when honored, deepens your empathy, your capacity for connection, your understanding of life's fragile beauty. We spend so much time trying to erase our scars, to hide them, to pretend we're unmarked, but our scars tell our story. They show that we survived, they show where we've grown. You want to kill weak feelings? Don't run from them, use them, channel them. Let them move through you, not around you. Let them teach you who you are and who you want to become. Because when you stop numbing, you give yourself a gift far greater than comfort. You give yourself clarity. You get to rewrite the story you tell yourself, no longer the victim of circumstances, but the author of meaning. It's easy to get stuck in the belief that pain is something to get over, that once we've moved past it, we'll be whole again. But healing doesn't mean forgetting, it means integrating. It means recognizing that the parts of you that hurt the most are also the parts that can become your greatest source of strength, wisdom, and purpose. Transformation doesn't erase the pain, it elevates it. It turns it into something useful. You don't have to drown in your pain to grow from it. You just have to be willing to face it long enough to understand it. That's how transformation happens. That's how scars become strategy. When you use heartbreak to learn how to choose people who choose you, when you use failure to build a discipline that leads to mastery, when you use grief to deepen your gratitude for the moments that matter. This is not about being perfect. It's not about never feeling weak. It's about knowing what to do with the weakness when it comes, not to fear it, not to be ashamed of it, but to see it as part of the human experience. A necessary, even sacred part of growth. The more we numb, the more we disconnect from what it means to be alive, and the more we transform, the more we begin to see pain not as a punishment, but as a path. You weren't meant to live numb. You were meant to live away, present, awake. And yes, that means you'll feel more. You'll cry more, you'll ache more, but you'll also love more, laugh more, create more, connect more. Because you'll no longer be hiding from life, you'll be participating in it fully. So the next time pain shows up, resist the urge to bury it. Sit with it. Write about it, talk through it, breathe into it, use it. Let it shape you, not shatter you. Let it fuel your fire, not smother your spirit, because the goal isn't to avoid being hurt. The goal is to grow so strong, so self-aware, so aligned with your values that no pain can take away your peace. You don't need to escape your feelings, you need to understand them. You don't need to silence your story, you need to own it. You don't need to be less emotional, you need to be more intentional. Pain is not the end, it's the beginning. Not something to suppress, but something to transform. That's where your power is. Not in the pretending, not in the perfection, but in the process. The messy, honest, brave process of turning everything that tried to break you into something that builds you. That's how you kill weak feelings, not with denial, not with distraction, but with transformation, with the courage to feel, the wisdom to process, and the strength to rise again and again. Imagine this. Every single thought you have, every belief you carry, every moment you feel either courage or fear, it's all shaped by what you let in. Every scroll, every word, every conversation, your inputs are not neutral. They are seeds. And what grows from them, consciously or not, becomes the landscape of your life. We like to think we're independent, that we're the architects of our own mindset, but the truth is, most of what we feel isn't born from within, it's absorbed, it's inherited. It's handed down from the environments we live in, the voices we listen to, the people we follow, and the stories we tell ourselves. Weak feelings like doubt, comparison, and insecurity aren't flaws of character. They are often symptoms of poor exposure. Like breathing in polluted air, we take in toxicity and wonder why we feel sick. If your social media is filled with curated perfection, where every face is filtered and every life is flawlessly staged, then your brain starts playing a dangerous game. It compares, it measures. It whispers that you're behind, that you're not doing enough, that your life isn't where it should be, that you're somehow failing. And without even noticing it, you begin to shrink. You begin to doubt yourself, not because something is wrong with you, but because you've been fed an illusion. And it's not just media. Look around at your circle. If the people closest to you are constantly complaining, if they always find reasons why things won't work, if their words tear down rather than build up, then you will begin to echo that energy. It's inevitable because energy is contagious. Attitudes spread. If you're surrounded by cynicism long enough, hope starts to feel foolish. If you're around people who quit when things get hard, then perseverance begins to feel unnecessary. That's why guarding your input isn't a small tip, it's survival. It's not about being dramatic, it's about being deliberate. Because your life, your clarity, your strength, your growth depends on what you feed it. And if you don't choose your input with intention, the world will choose it for you. And the world is noisy. It doesn't care about your peace. It profits from your fear. It thrives on your attention. So you have to be fierce in your defense, ruthless in your discernment. I once sat with a Navy SEAL who said something I'll never forget. He said, "You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your training." That hit me hard. Because in life, when pressure comes, we don't magically become better. We default to our preparation. We revert to the habits we've built. And habits are formed by repetition, by exposure, by what we consume day in and day out. Your inputs are your training. So the question becomes, what are you training for? Who are you becoming through the content you consume, through the people you spend time with, through the thoughts you let replay in your mind? If you listen to fear every day, you'll become anxious. If you watch chaos every day, you'll feel unsafe. If you talk with quitters every day, you'll doubt the point of trying. But if you feed yourself with strength, if you surround yourself with truth tellers, encouragers, those who speak vision and not just verdicts, you'll rise differently. You'll show up stronger. You'll respond rather than react because your inner life is being built on something solid. Guarding your input isn't about cutting people off or hiding from the world. It's about choosing your soil because even the best seed won't grow in poisoned ground. You can have ambition, drive, vision, but if it's constantly being watered with negativity, it will wither. And the worst part is, it will feel like your fault. You'll blame your own discipline, your own willpower. But it was never just about you. It was about what you were breathing in every day. That's why we must become intentional curators of our own mind. If something drains your energy every time you watch it, mute it. If someone makes you feel smaller every time you're around them, create space. If your habits make you feel guilty, rewire them. Because no one is going to protect your peace for you. You have to take ownership of it. This isn't about pretending everything is positive. It's about filtering for truth. Real strength doesn't come from hype. It comes from clarity, from seeing things as they are and still choosing to move forward. So when you choose better inputs, you're not escaping reality. You're equipping yourself for it. You're training your mind to be resilient, to be grounded, to be ready for the moments that matter. It is okay to audit your influences. In fact, it's necessary. Not everyone deserves a seat at the table of your mind. Not every voice gets to shape your story. Some people are echoes of fear. Others are signals of possibility. Learn the difference. Your future depends on it. Every day you are being shaped. And every day you have a say in who you are becoming. You may not always get to choose what happens to you, but you always get to choose what you carry, what you believe, what you allow to stick. So don't just protect your input, upgrade it, feed your strength with better conversations, with richer books, with deeper relationships. Choose content that stretches you, not just entertains you. Find people who challenge you to be better, not just comfortable. When you do, something shifts. You start walking taller, thinking clearer, leading stronger, not because you're pretending to be fearless, but because you're feeding your courage. It starts with one choice. What will I allow in? And that choice, repeated daily, becomes your advantage. It becomes your edge. It becomes your transformation. So yes, guard your input like your life depends on it, because it does. We're all familiar with the tight knot that forms in the pit of the stomach when we fail. That cold, sinking sensation that whispers, maybe you're not good enough. Maybe this was a mistake. It's not always loud, but it's persistent. And if we let it, it begins to define us. One of the sneakiest, most corrosive, weak feelings we experience is shame. Particularly the shame we attach to failure. It doesn't wear a bold sign. It creeps in quietly after a failed pitch, a declined job application, a relationship that didn't work out, a missed opportunity. It doesn't announce itself. It just sighs and says, maybe you were never cut out for this anyway. But that is the voice we must challenge, not obey. Failure is not a definition. It's not a label we're meant to wear. It's just feedback, data, information that gives us a map forward. Not a stop sign, but a signal. A signal that says, that didn't work. Try something else. But so many of us, because of how we were raised, taught, or conditioned, confuse the event with our identity. I failed becomes I am a failure. And that one small shift in language is the difference between quitting and continuing, between giving up and growing up. Let me tell you a story, not of a titan in a tailored suit, but of a woman with $5,000, 0 cents, and an idea no one believed in. Sarah Blakely. When she was growing up, her father would sit down with her and her brother at the dinner table and ask one question: what did you fail at today? That's right, fail, not what they succeeded at, not what they achieved, but what they failed at. And here's the twist. If they had nothing to say, he'd be disappointed. Why? Because it meant they weren't trying anything new. They weren't stretching themselves. They weren't risking enough. That one daily question rewired how she viewed the world. Failure wasn't something to avoid. It was something to seek. Something that meant effort, movement, courage. It wasn't shameful. It was admirable. And it stuck. That simple shift in perspective helped her build a billion-dollar company called Spanx. Starting with an idea people mocked, dismissed, and underestimated. She faced rejection after rejection. Male investors laughed. Department stores said no. But she didn't curl up. She didn't fold. She used those rejections as redirections. That's what happens when you redefine failure. And we need to do the same, because the people who get far in life, the ones we admire and quote and look up to, they aren't immune to weak feelings. They've just built the muscles to recover faster. They've trained themselves to look at failure not as a mirror, but as a compass. They don't let it define who they are. They use it to decide where to go next. Think about the last time you failed. Really think. What did you say to yourself? Did you say, this was a mistake, but I'm proud I tried? Or did you say, of course this happened to me. I should have known better. That inner narrative is everything. It doesn't just reflect how we feel, it shapes what we do next. A person who believes failure is data tries again. A person who believes failure is identity retreats. And so the question becomes, which voice are you listening to? There's a deeper reason why failure feels like an attack on our identity. It's because somewhere along the way, we started linking performance with worth, achievement with value. But those are dangerous links, because the moment you trip, those links snap and we start to think, I'm not valuable because I didn't win. That's not true. You are not your wins. You are not your losses. You are the courage to show up, the heart to try again, the willingness to say, that didn't go as planned and I'm still here. I once worked with a leader who had just been passed up for a major promotion. He was devastated. For weeks, he kept saying, I blew it. They don't believe in me. When I asked what feedback he got, he said, they said I need to work on my emotional regulation. And I said, that's not a judgment. That's data. That's something you can fix. And he did. Within a year, he not only got promoted, he became the person others turned to in crisis. Why? Because he didn't let the first no become a final truth. He turned it into a tool. We need to normalize failure, not as a rare detour, but as part of the road, part of the process. If you're not failing, you're not risking. And if you're not risking, you're not growing. Growth is never comfortable. It never comes wrapped in perfection. It's messy, clumsy. It's full of scrapes and bruises and second guesses. But that's what makes it real. That's what makes it valuable. Children know this. Watch a toddler learning to walk. They fall more than they stand, but they don't quit. They don't say, maybe walking just isn't for me. They try again, until one day they walk, and we clap and cheer and cry. But somewhere along the way, we stopped cheering for the falls. We started calling them failures. And that shift, more than anything, silenced our ability to try new things. So here's a different question to start asking yourself each day. What did I learn today that I couldn't have learned without trying? That's where the power is. In seeing your setbacks as stepping stones, in seeing your missteps as markers of motion, in remembering that the people you admire most, the innovators, the creators, the leaders, they didn't get where they are by avoiding failure. They got there by failing forward. If shame is the voice that says, you should have known better, courage is the voice that replies, now I do. If fear says you're not cut out for this, growth says, watch me build the skill. And if failure whispers you're not enough, resilience roars, I am just getting started. This isn't about being reckless. It's about being relentless, about choosing to see your journey not through the lens of perfection, but through the lens of progress. You're going to fall. That's guaranteed. But what you do next, that's what will define your life. So the next time you fail, don't hide it. Don't run from it. Don't pretend it didn't happen. Sit with it. Ask it questions. What did I learn? What does this tell me about what I need to adjust? Where can I go from here? Failure isn't the enemy. Shame is. And the best way to defeat shame is with truth. The truth that failure is feedback, that falling down is not the opposite of success. It's a part of it. And that the most powerful thing you can do after a fall is rise. Again, smarter, stronger, wiser. Because in the end, you don't become great by never failing. You become great by never stopping. There comes a moment when the fog must lift, a moment when you realize that drifting through life, unsure of who you are and what you stand for, is no longer acceptable. Not because the world suddenly got clearer, but because the weight of not knowing has become too heavy to carry. Weakness, fear, shame, these don't thrive in certainty. They thrive in confusion. And the greatest confusion is not about what to do, but about who we are. If you don't know who you are, the world will decide for you, and the world isn't kind. It will define you by your lowest moment, your greatest failure, your biggest mistake. It will name you by what you lack, not by what you're capable of. It will scream labels: lazy, unworthy, too late, not enough. And when you don't have a solid inner compass, you'll believe them. Because when the voice inside is quiet, the loudest one outside wins. But what if identity isn't something you stumble across? What if it's something you build? That changes everything. Because you're not waiting to be discovered. You're deciding, not on a feeling, not on a whim, but on a commitment. A conscious declaration of who you will be, even when it's hard, even when no one claps, even when you mess up, especially then. Imagine waking up and saying, today I am someone who shows up. Not just when it's easy, not just when you're motivated, but when you're tired, unsure, disappointed. Especially then. Because the real you isn't revealed in the highlight reel. It's revealed in the dark, ordinary, unfiltered hours of life. The real you is forged when no one's watching. Say it out loud. I am someone who honors their word. It's not about being perfect. It's about being consistent. It's about meaning what you say and following through even when it's inconvenient, even when no one else is, even when it costs you something. Because the cost of not being someone you respect, that's too high. You see, fear never leaves. It whispers on your best days and shouts on your worst. But courage isn't the absence of fear. It's the refusal to let fear drive. Say, I am someone who feels fear, but does it anyway. That's not pretending you're invincible. It's remembering that fear is just a feeling, not a verdict. It doesn't decide your future, you do. This isn't about chasing a flawless version of yourself. This is about being faithful to the person you choose to be, not once, but every single day. That's the hard part, not the declaration, the repetition, the discipline, the showing up again and again, even when your feelings beg you to quit. Identity isn't found in a personality test, or your social media bio. It's found in the smallest, grittiest moments of your life. It's found in how you talk to yourself after a setback, in how you treat people when you have nothing to gain, in how you respond when no one is watching. It's not discovered, it's built. One choice at a time, one moment at a time, one day at a time. And that building, it doesn't happen in grand gestures. It happens in the quiet, in the early mornings when you get up anyway, in the tough conversations you don't avoid, in the workouts you don't skip, in the promises you keep when nobody would know if you didn't. It happens when you choose growth over comfort, integrity over convenience, purpose over popularity. But here's the catch. Identity isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily one. Because the moment you stop deciding, you start drifting. And the world is full of noise, eager to pull you back into confusion. That's why this has to be intentional. You don't drift into greatness. You train for it. You fight for it. You practice it over and over until it becomes your reflex. There will be days you get it wrong. Days when you snap, quit, disappoint, fall short. That doesn't make you a fraud. That makes you human. But even then, especially then, you remind yourself, I know who I am. Not because I feel like it, but because I've decided. And I'm committed to that decision, even when it's messy. We are not our past. We are not our pain. We are not the people who left or the ones who doubted us. We are who we decide to be right here, right now. That power, it doesn't belong to anyone else. It's yours. And when you stop outsourcing it, when you take it back, you stop living at the mercy of circumstances. You stop waiting for clarity to begin. You begin, and clarity follows. Because the most powerful thing you can do in a world that thrives on distraction, comparison, and doubt is to know who you are and live like it. Not with arrogance, but with quiet, unwavering resolve. So ask yourself, who do you want to be? Not someday, not when you arrive, not when the conditions are right. Who do you want to be today? Then act like it, train like it, live like it. Because identity isn't fate, it's a choice. And that choice, it's waiting for you right now. You were not built to break. You were not designed to live in emotional poverty. Your weak feelings may speak, but they do not own you. Kill them not with violence, but with vision. Not with bitterness, but with better habits. Not with hate, but with higher standards. Because on the other side of your weakest feelings is your strongest life.